Hello, hello. It's Jane George running for Tennessee Senate District 6, and welcome to District Shine. Today's going to be a simple conversation, me with you, about some important information of dates coming up, some conversations about things that are happening in the district, and I want to give you some updates on COVID-19. Let's first of all start with our opportunities to cast our votes coming up. If you didn't register by the end of the day yesterday, that is over. We've missed that deadline. The deadline to apply to vote by mail is July 30th. It's important to realize, though, that if you make that application at that point in time, the ballot has to be received by postal mail. You cannot deliver it by hand. And it has to be received in the election office by the close of polls on election day. So that's going to be at the end of the day on August the 6th. So you'll have a little time in there, but you want to be on top of that. They are seeing, I just spoke to the Election Commission today, and I want to set your mind at ease at least about a couple of things that they shared with me. One, well, let's finish the dates and then come to that. We start early voting on July 17th. Within our campaign, we're actually encouraging people to early vote. That's going to help you to be preventable, preventing time in long lines in the heat. We do have a new voting system, if you haven't heard about that, this particular cycle in Knox County. And so it's going to take time. If you are deciding to go that route and vote on election day, bring your own pen. You will be sitting down and you will be filling out a paper ballot. What I've been told is that when you put that ballot into the machine, if there's anything that looks irregular, remember the Chads, if there's anything that looks irregular, the machine will tell you so that you can take it back and look and fix any problems that you might have with that particular ballot when you submit it. So, but be prepared that it's going to take time. If you are doing early voting, you probably won't have the lines, not guaranteed, but it'll probably not be as challenging as the day of the elections. So I feel that it's going to be reducing your risk of exposure and giving you more time to be thoughtful as you're sitting down so that you don't feel as rushed. Now, for those people who are concerned that their mail-in ballots are not going to count because of any kind of legislation that might be happening to dismiss those mail-in votes, let me just clarify a couple of things for you. One is that, yes, in the state of Alabama, they were declined the ability to do mail-in votes. It went all the way to the federal Supreme Court, and Roberts sided with the Christians, sorry about that, sided with the conservatives, and determined that it was that they could not require the state to have and provide mail-in voting for their constituents. So Alabama lost that opportunity. We have seen cases go to the Tennessee Supreme Court where they have argued that it cannot be denied to the Tennesseans. So we're good so far. Some people are concerned that if that does happen, that their votes will not count. Let me just tell you, if on the outside chance that happens, you can go on voting day. Now, I know one of the main reasons you did this is so that you wouldn't have to go to the polls. But if you want to get your vote in and you understand that there's some complication that's happened that you're concerned, your mail-in won't count, go to the polls, get a provisional ballot, and you can cast that ballot that day. Those ballots then go to the Election Commission to be reviewed. And there has to be a reason that they would count a vote on a provisional ballot. They're most of the time used for people when they show up and they don't have photo ID. And if that's the case, they'll give you a provisional ballot and you have 48 hours to get to the Election Commission to show them some form of ID so that you can be processed and your vote will count. But they said to me that they feel very strongly about all Tennesseans having the right to exercise their right to vote. And so I'm passing that on to you from the Election Commission. Early voting starts on the 17th. It does not go all the way through until Election Day. Big important date to also note is when it ends, and that's at the end of July. So you have until the last day in July to early vote. Then we'll have a few down days, and then the August 6 elections will come. Obviously, this is a primary. We have demonstrated over and over again that it's not that we are a red state or a blue state, it's that we are a non-voting state. So it's just whoever shows up. If you want to be in charge of your destiny, you have to get your votes in. I am running in a primary, so I would really appreciate it if you are supporting me and want to see me run a strong race against Becky Massey. Then I would be grateful for you to ensure that you're able to get that vote out in the primary for me. Okay, so enough said about that. I now want to talk to you for a minute about COVID-19. Tennessee is one of the top 3 states to have the highest hospitalization rates in the nation. And it's not good. Tennessee is one of the largest as a state in terms of what's happening with us right now, is comparing to whole countries that have been battling COVID-19. Our transmission rate is above the transmission rate, and it's happening in Houston. Houston's starting to be on the brink of real trouble. We'll know in 2 to 3 weeks whether or not our hospitals are going to be able to manage the loads that are coming in. In Nashville alone, they have rolled back some of their reopening procedures and are closing bars down for 14 days, amongst some other things. I posted a few days ago a graph that showed from green to red the various sorts of places that are like a safety code. Of course, anything that's green is safe, and by the time you get to red, that's going to be the most dangerous spaces you can be in. Unfortunately, our government, our state government, determined that the safest place, or the places that would reopen first, were actually all from the red zone, and that's restaurants and bars and gyms. All not safe places to be right now. I'm encouraging everyone to reconsider if you're going out. I know our economy needs the boost right now. We have to start leaning up in terms of that support. And by that, I mean looking to banks and looking to reserves. We have a rainy day fund. Hey, guess what? It's raining in Tennessee. So we have to start thinking about strategies that don't lean on the most vulnerable. And by that, I'm talking about the vulnerable people that work in our labor force that are considered to be essential workers, people that are going back to work in restaurants and bars and may or not have proper protection. They are passing a bill that will not allow you as an employee to sue your business owner if they bring you back and fail to protect you and you become sick. There is nothing in the legislation right now that's protecting you, and particularly if you fall in that range of people at the income level of working Tennesseans who make too much money to get Medicaid, but not enough to be able to afford the Affordable Care Act. Medicaid expansion is critical for Tennessee. We need it on so many levels, especially now. Oklahoma, just a few days ago, decided it was time to embrace Medicaid expansion. We are not there, and we need to get there, and we need to do it right away. It's also a very smart fiscal decision. When Arkansas decided to accept Medicaid expansion, they actually saved enough money in the first year of having it to pay the state's part of it for not just the first year, but the second and third years, all in the first year. So it's time that we stop using the argument that it is fiscally not responsible. It in fact is. We are now seeing in the papers and local news are talking about the people that live in rural areas. Over 60% of Tennessee is rural, and access to health care in those areas has been on the decline. This has been going on for years. When you make a hospital value solely based on profit, and determine that it can be shut down and that healthcare becomes inaccessible, particularly hospital care, to a given community, you're jeopardizing people in those communities. Not having access to Medicaid expansion has a direct impact on that. We currently are in have a General Assembly who doesn't seem to care a bit about that. If you're in that category, I hope you're angry, and I hope that you're going to vote for me, because we have to fix that. It's a big deal. Okay, now let's talk about how to look at COVID. As we're getting new numbers coming in, I think it's important to have an understanding about how to analyze, or how scientists are looking at COVID in tracking information. Let me first start that there was great reluctance to having contact tracing here in the state of Tennessee. It was not something that was encouraged, and in fact, the budgets to be held for that didn't happen. There was just, it wasn't an option. They now are seeing how important contact tracing is in order to contain the virus, because there's huge numbers of data coming in now showing in areas where they've been successful, that's what one of the main things that they used as a tool to fight this battle. We have not been doing that. They're trying now, as they have everything scattershot, to get whatever they can together to try to pull a real contact tracing team. So it's a bit too little too late, but hopefully we will have at least something going on. Contact tracing is just simply when someone gets sick, they ask where they've been in the last 2 weeks, and then if they can contact people that they've been exposed to let them know that there's the potential for exposure. Well over 200 doctors and scientific organizations have come out to say that it is absolutely true that the COVID virus sustains in particles of air. It's so tiny that it's like, you could think of it just as a feather floating through the air, and that can happen for long distances. We've all seen a dandelion, when you blow and it floats away, how long it can sustain in the air. It's important for us to recognize that we have that information at this point. To politicize that, to say that anyone who requests that someone wear a mask, particularly if you're in a public space or if you're in a workspace, to accuse you of mask shaming is ridiculous. All we're doing is asking people to take care of each other. And we lost Nicholas Cordova this week. He was 41 years old. He had no underlying health conditions, healthy guy. And this can happen to anyone. We're starting to see more and more cases of younger and younger people. So put your mask on, protect other people. If you want to make it a political issue, that's fine. Stay home. It's really that simple. If you don't feel compelled to protect other people, then just stay home. Have someone bring your food to you and whatever your needs are, your essentials, and leave them on your doorstep. It's very important. When we're looking at the whether or not things are escalating, we're not just looking at the number of positive tests. This is something that a lot of people are arguing. Well, the more tests that we take, the more positives we'll find. Oh, of course, that's absolutely true. But what you have to look at is the percentage of those positive tests. If you do 10 tests and 5% of them are positive, if you do 100 tests and 5% are positive, if you do 1,000 tests and 5% are positive, then you have a plateau. And you know that we're in a much safer place than we would be if you have 5% in a test of 100, and then in a test of 100 have 30%. If you jump in numbers and you jump in percentages, it doesn't really matter how many tests you do. You're looking at the percentage of tests that are positive. Tests are generally, positive tests are given to people who have an active virus. These are not antibody tests we're talking about. We're talking about positive tests for COVID-19 in active cases. So as active cases are going up, if the percentage of people tested is becoming higher, then we know that we're still in a, some will call it a surge, some will say it's still part of the first spike. It's kind of ridiculous. It doesn't matter what you want to call it. I personally think it's still part of the first spike. We certainly have not toppled out, and we have done nothing but work our way up. In fact, conditions are worse than they were when we shut down schools and shuttered businesses back in March. And speaking to that, we are going to find out at the end of the day today what Knox County Schools' plan is for bringing kids back into the classrooms, or if they are going to be staying at home. We need to keep our eyes and ears open for that today, especially if you have children. I hope you sent in your survey. I frankly believe the only option is to postpone, if possible, for everyone getting kids back into the classroom, at least into September. We have a national or a state emergency called until the end of August. We should not be putting our kids back into schools under a national emergency that is a virus. If one child becomes exposed and comes to school feeling fine, but is carrying the virus, it could put as many as 150 people into quarantine just from one day into quarantine for 2 weeks. If you have that happening repetitively, the schools are going to have to close. So let's give it a little more time to heal and to get a little more clarity and management on what's happening with our populations here in Tennessee. If we, our transmission rate is actually higher than Houston's, I may have said that earlier. What that means is for every one person who's exposed, how many people do they expose? This is where the COVID-19 was initially, when they would talk about it and try to compare it to the common flu, very radically different. The common flu, that rate is less than 1. We are up to 1.6 and it could be climbing. That actually information is the last time I looked, which was 2 days ago. So for every person that is exposed and carries the virus, 1.5 people, over 1.5 people will become sick in relationship to just that one person. As that number climbs, it becomes, it's an exponential reality. We talked about this back in March when we first started our daily drops. So this is just a reminder for anyone new who's watching us today. So we need to keep our ourselves protected, keep each other safe, make sure that you still are washing your hands, don't get lazy, stay out of public spaces right now if you can. If you can afford to be at home, then I encourage it. If you're able to do that with your work, bravo. I'm glad that there are people that have that opportunity. If you are going to work, wear your mask. I don't care what your politics are, wear your mask and make sure that you are maintaining social distance. Those are 2 ways to not just protect yourself, but protect others that you love, which is, of course, very important. Now I want to talk for a minute, for those who are still with us, about this. How many of you guys got this yesterday? I got this in the mail. Actually, it came 2 days ago. And I thought maybe we would just work through this together. This was sent out, actually it says it's stamped from the Great Seal of the State of Tennessee. I know that in all my years of living in Knoxville, I've never received a letter from the senator giving me a Capitol Hill report. Now, it might be that I just haven't been on the list, or it might be that this is something that was done in an election year and paid for by the state. If that's the case, I find that to be very disconcerting, because this person, Senator Massey, is clearly running a campaign. I'm seeing her signs, just like we have our beautiful signs. If you want one of our beautiful signs, we'll talk about that at the end. But of course, it's thinly veiled way to get it out there. But I will say, in looking through this, it is not anything that is too earth-shattering, to say the least. They talk about the budget. She doesn't talk about the governor giving himself a raise. She doesn't talk about him giving raises to judges. She doesn't talk about the amount of money that was cut from the educational system. She, in fact, says that Tennessee ranks third in the nation for best funded pension plans, and it's only one of 5 states without any road debt. Okay, well, I wonder if that road debt just to me means we've got a lot of work to do on our roads. And for anybody that's driving around in Knox County, I think you would agree. We've got some problems with bridges and we've got some problems with roads. So if you have the without a road debt, maybe you should start reconsidering the fact that we need to get our roads fixed. Lots of ways to look at the languaging. We've got some real issues in terms of funding. We don't have the access to the rainy day fund, and in fact have allocated money going into that fund, millions of dollars, both in 2021 and 2022. So they're putting money into the rainy day fund, but you know, as we said earlier, it's raining and nobody's really helping us with that. I think that a lot of those of you who have not or have had struggles in getting your unemployment are now getting it. But if you are still having those issues, let us know. We can try to help you with that because that's inexcusable. It's interesting because here it says few items important in the budget, and she says that we are fully funding education. Teachers were told they were going to get a 4% raise this year. When COVID-19 became an issue, they were told that would be reduced to 2%. Now they've been told that they will get 0% in funds raised. They were willing to take $40 million out of the budget to put into a voucher fund that would literally take money from the budget to travel with those students. At this point, the voucher fund has been deemed illegal. We'll see, that's in appeals, but it's certainly not going to be happening this fall, as far as we know. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. But there were $41 million that were allocated for overhead for that. We're not really sure where that money went. We are the 45th in the nation in how we fund our people, how we fund our students. And if you want to look at the relationship between funding your kids and the quality of their education, all you have to do is look at some real basic information. 27% of 8th graders are reading with 8th grade proficiency, 33% of 3rd graders. I don't think we're investing in our schools. I don't think we are fully funding education and getting that kind of results. We are 36th in the nation, or sorry, 38th in the nation for kids, how they fare on national exams from K through 8th grade, how many kids actually complete high school and then move on to college. Way down there, my friends. We are not fully funding education. What we do have, which is amazing, is programs that people can go and attend at our community colleges, and they're working for free for 2 years degree, and they're working on something at UT, which I'm very excited about. We are also seeing that extending the sales tax holiday to 2 weekends to help with the stimulus, and during the first weekend, which is July the 31st to August the 2nd, the sales tax holidays will double to $200 for clothing and $3,000 for computers. So basically, and August 8th and 9th, sales tax holiday for the retail sale of food and drink by restaurant. Wow, really? So let's get people shopping. Here's what we want you to do. We want you to go out and shop. We want you to shop July 31st through August 2nd. Then we want you to go out and eat or have some cocktails and save some money for the state. Save some money for yourself by not having to pay state taxes. That is one of the most unbelievable ideas I can even imagine for how to manage stimulus into our economy, is to take one of the most important ways that we get money into our coffers at the state level through sales tax, because we don't have income tax, and send people into unsafe places. Are you kidding me? Okay, so that's a problem. In terms of the legislation that Becky Massey is proud of, that she introduced, I want to talk to you about just a couple of these things that I find fascinating. Legislation that she sponsored and passed. Well, here we have access to dental care is expanded. Okay, I'm going to tell you what that's about. I am a physician that volunteers for RAM, Random Access Medical. And we have clinics, or they have clinics float around all over the place, and we can go and volunteer our time and serve communities who don't have health care. So I can tell you right now, I know what it looks like to see little kids and their parents struggling to keep their health maintained. And this is the care that they get a couple of times a year. One of the things they offer is dental, and in that dental, it's a huge setup. They're in there pulling teeth, and the law is that dentists have to be 3 to 1, or dentist is 1 to 3 to dental hygienists, because a physician needs to oversee. They need to see the patient. They need to make sure there's nothing else that's seriously wrong, because they're the doctor. They're the ones trained. Hygienists have some training. Their job is to clean the teeth. So, yeah, so this access to dental care expanded actually gives us 2 classes of dental care for people in the state of Tennessee. Those who can go to a dentist and get their teeth cleaned by someone who is actually supervised by a physician, and those who are coming to these clinics, and they now have a ratio of 1 to 40. 40 dental hygienists can be working on your mouth with 1 dentist overseeing it, which means there's really no supervision, which means that we've got a real classes system for dental care in the state of Tennessee. And she's proud of that. That's right here. And she sponsored that one. So this one blows my mind, y'all. Tennessee Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. This is to ensure that pregnant workers have reasonable accommodations in the workplace to remain healthy and working. I don't even know what that means. I'm going to look into that one, but I mean, somebody needs to translate that into English that it actually explains what it does, because it doesn't tell me anything. But what I can tell you is that the Senate passed legislation just recently that TennCare would no longer be offering the 12-month care for mom and baby after a child is born. Oh, so pro-life, right? And literally TennCare said that this particular program saves lives. But you know, if you're on TennCare, I don't think you matter, because this is for Tennessee Workers Fair Act. This is in the workplace to remain healthy and working. I'm not even sure what that is, but I have a problem with it. And I have a problem with the fact that if you're going to advocate for healthcare in any form, it's not in here. And in fact, she doesn't say anything about when it comes to noteworthy legislation or sponsored and passed legislation. She doesn't talk about our free carry gun permits. That passed. She doesn't talk about that. Oh, anti-abortion act that passed, that even the National Right to Life organizations didn't get behind. That's not in this little paper. She does not talk about the fact that she voted against mail-in balloting twice. She does not talk about the fact that she has done nothing to move or vocally advocate for healthcare through Medicaid expansion. We have some real problems in terms of even our reopening. She's not standing up and bringing in physicians. She's not standing up as a senator and saying to our governor, you have to stop because what you're doing is bad. She is not saying to him, this legislation that we're doing here is unconstitutional when we are trying to roll back protections against employers and liability, they want to roll it back to a nursing home that had proper information and just didn't prepare and lost quite a number of people, Tennesseans. So this is these are real problems. She does talk about Cover Kids, which is Tennessee's children's health insurance program, and it's been extended until 2025, and it covers uninsured Tennessee children and pregnant women who are not eligible for Tennessee's Medicaid plan. So again, I need a lot more information to even understand what that is. So that's sort of in brevity going through. If eliminating your Hall income tax is the biggest thing you have to talk about under your budget and your tax holiday, and the fact that you're claim to be fully funding education and you're not, we got a problem here. This is a big problem. And so I'm hoping you guys will get on board with me with this and go to my website and volunteer. We really need some support. Give us some money. Campaigns do not run themselves. And this senator has a lot of money to be able to run a campaign. She can outspend us at this point 100 to 1 in terms of what we've raised so far. So for every $1 we spend, she can spend 100. So we have got to get some money. So please help us if you're behind us. If you have any questions about what we're talking about today, please contact me. I would love to talk to you. My phone number is 865-898-8505. I plan to be an open book. This is not just for now. This is not just through the race with, if I'm given the opportunity to run against Becky Massey, but also getting into the Senate. I'm going to keep that phone number, and I'm hoping that you're going to call. I got an amazing phone call from a woman from Nashville last night who watched the interview that I did for Knox County Democratic Party. If you want to go back and look at that particular interview with Charles Chandler, that was on Sunday night, and that's through Knox Dems on Facebook, and it'll give you an opportunity to hear where I am with a lot of different issues. But she called from Nashville to say how much she supported and wanted to know how she could contribute to the campaign, what she could do, and she's been actively working for other Democratic candidates, both at the national and local level. So people are paying attention, and I need you guys to join in and be one of those people and help us out. Thank you so much for those that have supported us so far. We couldn't have come this far without you. If you're interested in getting a sign, you can do that on the website as well. Just go to the donate button, and then under Jane George Swag, you can get a sign, you can get stickers. We'll bring them out to you. The signs anyway, we'll mail the stickers, but we'll bring them out to you. We've got signs and we want to get them up in Tennessee. So if you live in Knox, South Knox, you live in West Knox, those are two places where we'd love to get some more signs up. But anywhere in the district, we'd love to have your support. Thank you. And take care of yourselves and take care of each other.
I wake up in the morning or the afternoon and I tell myself I'm fine, staring back from the glass of the bathroom mirror for an unclear amount of time. Coffee, cakes, and thoughts that make me shiver. If I said I'm free, I've been self-medicating with farming and trading on a video game machine. And these are times that remind us that some weeks can feel like seasons. They unwind from a spool of all the beds that we have dreamed in. I color in a book, dye my hair, garden for a while each day. I've been reading and napping and I'm just top having my wardrobe anyway. Day drinking, night blinking to a tiger documentary. I'm in a maze of pandemic days that slip away from me. I'm in a maze of pandemic days that slip away from me. And I'm afraid my folks are gonna die. How many days has it been? Will I see you again? I've really been missing you, is a thing I said out loud to myself in the dark of my living room. I've got a pen pantry full of pasta noodles, and I'm learning to make bread. Almost tried out bangs for once, but made new memes instead. And I'm unsure if there's a world to be explored when this is over. I want more than this Ponzi scheme regime when I am sober. I color in a book, dye my hair, garden for a while each day. I've been reading and napping, and I'm just top having my wardrobe anyway. Day drinking, not blinking to a Tiger documentary. I'm in a maze of pandemic days that slip away from me. I'm in a maze of pandemic days that slip away from me. This system is designed to reward the corrupt and disenfranchise the children who are farmed to make profit from dust. I colored a book, dyed my hair, garden for a while each day. I've been reading and napping, and I'm just top having my wardrobe anyway. Day drinking, night blinking to a Tiger documentary. I'm in a maze of pandemic days that slip away from me. I'm in a maze of pandemic days that slip away from me.
Well, that wraps up this week's District Shine, airing every Wednesday at 4 o'clock here on Facebook Live. We're looking forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you for sharing some time with us today. We're grateful for this opportunity to talk to others in our community ready to make changes. We appreciate your support and hope to earn your vote. Let's do this together. Take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.